Hello, welcome to Wrestle MSX. I'm Michael.
I'm Sally.
Damian Priest versus LA Knight ends in a no contest due to outside interference. Surprise, surprise.
Fraxiom defeat Pretty Deadly.
Aleister Black defeats The Miz.
Zelina Vega defeats Piper Niven.
Fenix defeats Santos Escobar.
Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton defeat Nia Jax and Naomi.
Now, this is the part of the video where I'm supposed to say subscribe, but why would you do that when you haven't even seen what's coming? You might not even like it. Anyway, if you want to know what actually happened, watch this. Legend Killer has one more legend in his sights.
Elton Prince gets messed up.
And the Women's Championship is heating up. Before we've even begun, we see Damian Priest backstage having an altercation with Solo and Jacob Fatu, with Priest saying he's coming for the US title, which is what we spoke about in our musings video. Go and check it out. As they argue, LA Knight walks past and straight into the ring. Knight complained about his match being interrupted from last week and bemoans how it was able to happen. He points the finger at Priest, who he has a match with later, and also happens to then come out. In the ring, Priest says they're cool. Knight says he knows why Priest came out last week to beat up Drew McIntyre, as usual, but he picked the wrong time to do it. He picked Knight's time, which in turn made Knight lose his #1 Contenders Match. Priest says he saved Knight from a Claymore. Knight says, "You don't know, I could have beaten Drew and caught him with a BFT, and not to let his failures become Knight's." Knight then just full-on blames Priest for losing his US title shot, with the match that was scheduled for later happening right now.
So, first match of the night, Damian Priest versus LA Knight. Priest bullies Knight to start, with Knight then going for an early BFT, only for it to be foiled with a push away. We then get the usual leaping clothesline, leg sweep and jumping neckbreaker from Knight, followed by a 1 count. Priest nearly pulls off a South of Heaven after catching Knight. It was about to drop the elbow, with Knight escaping only to suffer a huge clothesline and cover for 2. Knight escapes a Racer's Edge, hits a DDT and then delivers a second rope elbow, the following cover getting 2.
Back from the break, we join the superstars on the top rope, with Priest fighting his way down and dropping LA with a Razor's Edge. The cover 2. Priest sets up for South of Heaven again, which Knight escapes looking for a DDT. Priest reverses this into a broken arrow and then heads up to the top rope. Knight gets up to him though, superplexing the Punisher and then covering for 2. We then end up outside the ring, with Priest flatlining Knight onto the ring apron and pushing him back into the ring. As he does, he's attacked by Solo, with the ref inevitably calling for the bell. After dealing with Priest, Solo heads into the ring to deal with Knight, lining up a Samoan spike. The spike gets thwarted by Priest, with Knight then BFTing Sikoa. Priest then looks to put Solo through the announcer's desk, but Fatu comes out for the save, putting Knight over it instead, and hip attacking Priest against the crowd barrier.
Backstage, Byron Saxton speaks with Fraxiom, who say they're excited to be on SmackDown, when they're interrupted by Pretty Deadly. Deadly don't say much here aside from opportunities are earned, not given. This is all done to cause a little friction before their match, which is next.
Pretty Deadly versus Fraxiom. Wilson gets an early cover off a hip toss before tagging in Prince, who gets taken out by Fraxiom's speedy double team manoeuvres. Wilson heads into the ring to help, but suffers the same fate. Prince then floors Axiom with a huge clothesline just as we hit a break. When we come back, we find Freezer drop kicking both Yes Boys from the top rope before double DDTing them, one normal, one reversed, and hitting a shooting star press into cover on Prince for the 1-2-3. This didn't end the match though.
Prince never kicked out. The ref pulled her arm away as she was about to slap the canvas for the 3rd time. So I can only assume Elton was meant to kick out or Kit make the save. When we get back, we can see that Prince has been busted open, seemingly caught by Fraser as he landed his shooting star press. Wilson hits a sit-down powerbomb into cover and the ref sats the mat 3 times, but Fraser kicks out. This is turning into a farce now, but we carry on. The end is in sight though, as Axiom hits a Spanish fly on Wilson, which is followed by Fraser's Phoenix splash and cover. Hopefully this time for 3. And it is.
This Spanish fly Phoenix splash is turning into a bit of Skull and Bones from
It's all boring Skull and Bones.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I've seen it now, I don't need to see it again. I know it's your little finisher, but come on. Anyway, the reason I think Prince didn't kick out of his cover from Fraser is because he'd been hurt by the landing of his opponent. The problem with that is, thinking about yourself during the match made everyone else look silly. Elton Prince, the show must go on. Worry about your injury after the match.
Backstage we see Byron Saxton with B-Fab and Meechin, with the 2 women looking to join forces and take on Liv and Raquel when they come back from their time off.
What film are they doing? Do we know yet? Surely Raquel's not doing it.
She's got to have time off with her mate. She's supported her. Green and the Secret Service enter, with Green mourning her loss from last week and looking for a rematch with Zelina Vega. Aldis says no. Vega has a match against Pipe and Niven later.
We take another look at the history of Cena versus Orton, this time covering their TLC match for the titles way back in 2013.
Out next, Nia Jax. This goes by the numbers, with Jax saying she wants a WWE Women's Championship, only to be cut short by Stratton. Tiffy says she'd be one of the greatest of all time, and that if she went one-on-one with Jax again, she'd beat her too, adding she'd defend her title any time or place. They then get interrupted by Naomi, who says she isn't done with gold, so presumably looking to take on Stratton at some point. As she nears the ring though, Jade Cargill heads out, and then it all kicks off. Jax and Stratton go at it, while Naomi and Cargill have fisticuffs. Stratton and Cargill send their adversaries to the outside, and they begin to circle one another, which brings out Nick Aldis. I have an idea where this may be going. Stratton and Cargill versus Jax and Naomi.
We'll have to wait and see. Backstage we see The Miz and Carmelo Hayes, with Miz saying Black didn't knock him out last week, he woke him up, adding he's going to remind everybody who he is.
So, The Miz with Hayes versus Aleister Black. After a few strikes by Black, The Miz manages to gain the upper hand by slamming Black's head into the apron, after Black was more interested in looking at Hayes. We come back from a break to find The Miz still in control, even throwing Black from the ring. The Miz makes the mistake of following Black though, eating a big knee as he attacked Black from the ring steps, and nearly falling to a cover once back in the ring. Miz then gets a 2 count cover and looks for skull crushing finale, only Black counters with a cartwheel. Hayes distracts Black momentarily, only for Black to then hit Black Mass and cover Miz for the win. Hayes and Black have a steer off after the bout.
Backstage, Santos Escobar tells Rey Fenix he embarrassed the Luchadors at WrestleMania by losing to Americano, adding that now Rey Mysterio is out of the picture, hopefully forever, Escobar's words, not mine, someone has to take his place, claiming that person has always been him. Fenix tells Santos to stay out of his business, and if he has a problem with that, he'll see him in the ring.
Zelina Vega versus Piper Niven next. Niven with green and fire. Rather slow paced, with Niven using her size advantage over the smaller Vega and getting a 2 count after a senton. Vega manages a 2 count cover after a second rope Meteora and another after a moonsault. We then get a 619 setup, but as Vega heads to the rope for the rebound, Green gets on the apron to stop her. The two argue, and I've never noticed this before, but as Niven runs at Vega from behind, the ref taps her to say, "Watch out, she's coming." Vega obliges and then dodges the attack, with Niven knocking Green from the apron. Vega then rolls up Niven in a jackknife pin and picks up the victory. I did find this
It was boring, a bit slow, it was just boring. But like you said, yeah, the ref's like... It was funny because the ref, inside information, the ref was like this. So you've got Green there on the outside of the ring, and you've got Vega there, and the ref was like this. He wasn't looking at these two, he was like this, he was looking, he was waiting for the attack from Niven, and then as soon as she starts running, he was like that. He just tapped her, so obviously Vega could get out of the way. Never seen that before. It probably happens all the time, but just this one time I happened to see it because the camera was probably a little bit too far back and I could see the whole picture. Anyway, backstage we see Nick Aldis telling off Solo and Jacob like a couple of schoolboys for disrupting matches, and then they decides to make a triple threat match between Jacob, LA Knight and Damian Priest for the US title at Backlash. Solo says, shouldn't it be McIntyre that's fighting for the belt, as technically he won the match last week, which he did. Aldis says Solo's right and tells them to forget the triple threat as it's now a fatal four-way. Jacob says no problem, kinda, before walking off, with Solo then saying to Aldis that he's trying to screw Jacob over. Aldis replies, no Solo, you are. Now, didn't we book this on our musings video like a few days ago?
I think we did.
A fatal four-way for the US title. WWE stopped using our ideas. And if you want to see them, go and check out our musings video. The link will be in the description somewhere.
Randy Orton out next, as he says, from day one he knew that Cena was arrogant and selfish.
Yeah, he is.
He said that Cena was happy to play the cartoon character during the PG era, while Orton tried to stay true to who he is. You get a lot of that on here.
What?
Cartoon characters that play up to the camera.
Yes, you do.
Orton goes on about all the new t-shirts Cena brings out every month before asking what happened to the loyalty and respect.
Good point.
Orton wraps up saying Cena's the latest legend he has to put down, vowing to do so at Backlash with a punt and an RKO.
Come on, Randy.
Can't wait.
From our predictions. Backstage, we see Nia Jax speaking with Naomi, with Jax saying they'll be good as long as she stays out of her way. Naomi replies with a simple, sure.
We learn that Money in the Bank is coming June 7th before we see Randy Orton backstage and R-Truth bumping into him. Truth said Cena's going to beat him when Jimmy Uso appears. Orton walks off, Jimmy telling Truth to stop. Truth then says that Cena told him he's going to be the last real champion before also heading off. Now, didn't we also speak about this in our musings video?
I think we did.
Go check it out. That Cena keeps pushing this last real champion phrase, like it has to be him.
That's what I mean. He keeps saying it so much that it has to be him. That's why I've got a feeling he might not lose it to Orton, which I have said, but he will lose it to someone and then win it again. Just as I say, just to get to 18, because everybody's stuck on 17.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny how he keeps saying that. Rey Fenix versus Santos Escobar now. Technical start with holds, counters and reversals, with the two then looking at one another and Escobar saying he should be the boss. We then have a chop off, which is followed by a dive out the ring by Santos as Rey's outside the ring. After the break, we find ourselves back in the squared circle with Escobar large and in charge and covering for two. Fenix does some spinning through the ropes before hitting a floating moonsault from the top rope and covering Santos for two before getting another two off a spin kick. Now, you can't do a floating moonsault, but it's the fact that he gets the height and the spring off that top rope and it looks like he's floating.
It's just there.
Anyway, the two then knock each other down and only just beat the ref's count, with Santos getting in another 2 count cover. Fenix then drop kicks Santos, leaving him draped over the top rope and allowing him to hit Goodbye Amigo. With Santos down in the ring, Fenix finishes him off with a top rope Meteora and covers for the win.
Backstage we see Tiffany Stratton speaking with Jade Cargill when they're interrupted by Saxton. And he asks how they're going to get on in their match later.
Always with them very poignant questions, Byron Saxton.
Stratton says if Jade stays out of her way, there'll be no problem. Cargill says the same and adds that she has a match with Jax next week in a number 1 Contenders match for Stratton's title.
And I bet you that ends with a powerbomb on Jax from the middle rope. Spoiler alert. Backstage we see Santos arguing with Los Garza, asking where they were during his match, when in walks Andrade. Andrade says he doesn't like Santos, who has no honour or respect. Escobar, obviously not happy about this, storms off, taking Angel and Berto with him. Only Berto is a little reluctant to leave.
So, last match of the night, Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill against Nia Jax and Naomi. We start off with a brawl, of course we do, and then settle down to Naomi, Jade, with Naomi then tagging out, bringing in Jax. Jax overpowers Jade and mocks her as we hit a break and come back to Jax covering Jade as Jade tried to lift her. Naomi comes back in, laying into Cargill, and then tags Jax in once again. Cargill manages to finally slip away, bringing in Stratton, who dominates Jax, and hits the handspring back elbow corner move, followed by a crucifix pin for 2, after Jax had gotten Stratton in an attempted Samoan drop. Stratton heads up top, but Jax picks her off the top rope and Samoan drops her, followed with a leg drop. Naomi, though, blind tags Jax, much to Jax's annoyance, telling her to get out the ring as Naomi hits a split-legged moonsault. Although she doesn't, as Stratton gets her knees up, blocking the move.
Stratton just about makes it over to her corner, tagging in Cargill, who kicks Naomi, slams her to the mat, squashes her in the corner, and then licks her face before hitting a chokeslam and covering for 2 as Jax broke the pin. Jax then dragged Naomi over to their corner, tagged herself in, and then elbow dropped Cargill, following up with a senton and cover for 2. This pin broken up by a swanton from Stratton from the top rope. Jax then squashes Stratton and Naomi in the corner, kicking both out of the ring before setting her sights on Cargill again. Jax runs at Cargill, squashing her in the corner, and then sets up for the Annihilator. Cargill gets up though, powerbombs Jax and covers her for the 1, 2, 3. After the match, Cargill snatches the belt from the ref before placing it on her shoulder. She hands it to Stratton, with the two then playing tug of war over it. As they do, Naomi pushes Jade from behind, which in turn sends Stratton from the ring. Naomi beats on Jade and then raises the title above her head as SmackDown goes off the air. So this, as I say, is heating up.
It is.
Nicely.
Yeah.
And I like that there's 4 of them involved, and not just
2. Stratton and Jax.
or Stratton and Flair. I mean, obviously that had to be.
Yes.
But
yeah,
we're now getting a little bit,
Yeah.
which is how it should be.
And I think the belt just looks nice on Jade when she was holding it there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not fussed who wins. I think they're all good enough to hold it.
Yeah.
I think they all got their own characters. They're all different, which is good, because you don't want people that are the same all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I like that. Any of them can win it. I'm not bothered who. I like them all. Great.
Another fatal 4-way coming.
Yeah, either Money in the Bank. No, it won't be. Not yet. But yeah, it's good. They're moving it on. They're keeping it going. That's good. And as I say, it's a bit like the US title. Now you're bringing other. It's just LA Knight. Then
It's nice to have that little mix.
Now you got Drew. Obviously Jacob's got it. Now you're bringing Priest into the mix, which is good. That's what he wants. Love it. Anyway, anything you like to say, then let us know in the comments below.
Don't forget to check out our Muses video,
which we always predict everything.
Yes, we do, with our thoughts and opinions of the last week of WWE. A new one drops every Wednesday. Thank you again for watching.
Make sure you remember that, and we'll see you Tuesday for Raw.